Sam Williams here with the Outdoor Adventures podcast, and I thought this year, before I put all my gear away, it would be cool to go through it and review it and just talk about the products that I have. I'm not sponsored by anybody. This is just stuff that I use that I like, some of it I don't like. First thing you'll notice is I've got the V3 Creative Concepts sling on my backpack and like it, but when I was going to shoot this video, I realized that the little knob that you hook this orange strap on is missing. And so I can feel it. There's a threaded screw there, and I'll take a close-up picture so you can see. But that little plastic knob is missing, and that's a crucial part because without that, I can't hold my gun in place. So I'm going to go ahead and take the gun off just because it's uncomfortable with that on there. So this is the gun that I hunted with this year. It's a Bergara 6.5 PRC. When I originally purchased the gun, they came in this stock here. But my son hunted with it last year, and he was having problems after you get the first round in the chamber with it jamming up. And so I reached out to Bergara. They sent me some new bottom metal, but I honestly think it's a flaw in the design when these Gen 1s came out, where they just tend to jam without a clip. And I think that round of the 6.5 PRC is just slightly too large, especially after you shoot that first one. And so anyway, I went away from this. The gun itself, when it was in this configuration, had a muzzle brake on it, which also made that a very loud gun to shoot. So my son complained about it bothering his ears, and I shot it as well, and it bothered my ears, so I understood what he was saying. So anyway, I took this off. So this gun base was probably $700 to $900. I don't recall exactly. The barrels on the Bergaras are also known to be fairly heavy. I didn't know that. I just like the look of it. The stock is kind of a rubberized stock. It's nice to hold. It doesn't feel as plasticky as some of the other stocks. I'd heard Bergaras were good, well-made guns, and I'm overall happy with how the gun shoots. My cousin Chris will call it a creep gun. So this is my creep gun versus a non-creep gun, which is a wood stock. This is a Seiko M243. I hunted with this after I got my deer this year, and for coyotes. So I love this little gun, but I'm going to change the scope on it, so I've got the scope off right now. It's a non-creep gun. So anyway, let's go back to the gun, and we'll go through the various gear that I've got on, but we'll start with the gun. So a drawback to adding a suppressor to your gun is, number one, it adds length and it adds weight. And so I've already got a heavy barrel. I've got a loopholed scope on here. I think it's a VHX5 HD or something like that, and it's got the CDS style system, so it's a heavy scope. The stock itself, this is an MDT stock, so I switched that out. That was about $500, and so now, okay, we're at $700 to $900 plus another $500 to $600, let's say. So let's just split the difference. We'll say $800 and $500. We're about $1,300 plus a $1,100 to $1,300 scope. Then the suppressor. In Oregon, you have to get all kinds of licenses and things. And so when I bought this suppressor, I had to go through that process. I don't want to say I'm probably into the suppressor, probably close to $900 to $1,100. So you add all that up and it starts getting real expensive. So hopefully my wife doesn't watch this video, but honestly, I prefer hunting with a wood gun. I went to a plasticky type gun because I thought, okay, the elements and, you know, modern technology and all that sort of stuff. But here's what messed me up is I was in my head thinking this gun is too heavy for a freehand shot. And so when I came up on my buck at about 40 yards, I should have just dropped the shooting sticks and shot him. But I was trying to get on him on the sticks on a big cliff situation, so it was a steep angle with a suppressor and with trying to use the sticks. I just couldn't get on him. And so then I didn't shoot until he was quite a ways away, and it wasn't my best shooting. We did get the deer, but it wasn't the best situation. And so I don't know what I'm doing next year, but I'm kind of committed to all this stuff. The other thing, the one reason I went to it was a clip, so we wouldn't have to do the bottom metal thing and have those problems. So this is a 10-round clip. I had 6 rounds in it when I was hunting with it this year. I also have a 3-round clip. I don't know the manufacturer of this one, but Anyway, the 10 round is a metal clip. The other one's a plastic clip. As far as cycling the bolt, shooting at the range, all those things went great. But out in the field, it's not my favorite setup, I'll tell you that. And so I think what I'm gonna do if I hunt with this again is I just bought a thread cap instead of having it suppressed or muzzle broke, because I think it won't be quite as loud. Yeah, it'll kick a little bit more, but it's a 6.5 PRC. It's not like it's a Canon anyway. So then this will be the length of the gun going forward. It's a little more user friendly. You can pull it up on your shoulder. It doesn't feel so heavy. It's amazing how that extra 4 or 5 inches on the suppressor really adds weight to the gun, especially on the front. And so we'll see. I haven't decided. I am kind of pot committed to this thing because I got so much invested in it, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it. So that was my gun from this year. Let's light it over here. I'm starting to sweat because I got my long johns on and stuff. So I also made it an investment into binos. I went with tracked binos. My cousins are hunting with those SIGs, Zulus, which I think are fantastic binos. I had gotten vertigo on a trip one time and I blamed those, so I didn't invest in those. So I spent the same amount of money on these. These are $1,000 binos. I believe that comes with the bino harness. These are the, I think 12 by 50s. Let me see. Oh, 15 by 56s. Sorry. So they're big binos. The glass is really nice. I was really pleased with how they performed in the field. I like the bino harness. It's got these little magnets here and it clips down, and so I never hooked my binos into the little straps, but I did. I really liked these. I liked how tight I could get the bino harness. So right now I've got my whole setup on, but if I was to pare down on my clothing, it's pretty easy to tighten this and adjust it and keep it tighter to your chest. I also have I didn't carry a pistol on this hunt, but I've got a customized pistol holder that I'll review for you on another time. So in Oregon, you're not legally required to wear orange unless you're a youth. So under the age of 18, then you're required to have orange out in the field. But I personally feel on any rifle hunt, when there's other guys in the woods with guns, it's a good idea to have some hunter's orange on. I also think for knowing where your other party members are, if you're hunting a draw from different angles, you sure stand out a whole lot better with the orange on. So I'll take the bino harness off. Should have took my pack off first, but I'll take the pack off too. So. All right. So that's off there. One other thing before we move on from the creep gun is the stock Bergara doesn't have a cheek riser. It doesn't have a cheek plate on this particular model. I think it's a Ridgeline or something like that. So I had bought an aftermarket that you just put on there and it velcros around. It's not real pretty, but it gives you that so you can get that positioning right for you personally. And I do think that makes a big difference on lining up on your gun and taking a good shot. So the other thing I always have, I'm sensitive to the sun and the light in my eyes, so I'm always wearing sunglasses. So I like these Wiley X's. These are the Founders. These are the original. They come in like a brownish color on the side. I have a black pair as well. Those run $100 to $150. This one's got a scratched lens, but I've had them for quite a while. You can buy replacement lenses for $60, but they've been really my go-to sunglasses, and I got kind of a wide head, and so having sunglasses that fit my face is hard to find. So I really do like the Wiley X Founders. And again, I'm not sponsored by anybody, I'm just telling you what I use. So this vest I've got on, I bought at a garage sale for $1. It's insulated, it's warm. I'm sweating right now wearing it. I take that off. It's all about layers, because where we were hunting, it was probably 30 to 40 degrees in the mornings, and then it would get to 60 to 80 degrees as the day would progress. And so having the layers and being able to strip down and switch things out, that's what I was going to say on the really cold mornings. So when it would start start off the morning really chilly, let's say, I would have this puffy coat on, and this is just a Cabela's puffy coat, and I'd have it on before we were going, or if we were just glassing a ridgeline. But if I'm again out in the field, I'm going to have some orange on. So before I was going out in the field, I'd have this puffy coat on. It'd roll up really tight, and I could throw it in my bag. On the really cold mornings, I like a wool layer. So this is an LL Bean that I got on eBay. You can't hardly find LL Bean stuff anymore. I had one for many years. Made the mistake of washing it last year and drying it, and it shrunk. So my son's got that one until he grows out of it. But I would put that down, and then I would put, you know, that orange vest or something, so I'd have a layer of orange on. Also on the cold mornings, I like either a stocking cap or like a neck gaiter, you know, and I have the neck gaiter here. You can pull it up over here. It looks a little bit goofy, but it keeps you warm. And so it's all about the layering. Base layer under here, I've just got Cabela's old school base layer, and it's all black. I've had it for many years, and it's always done good for me. I mean, I'm like I say, I'm sweating pretty good right now. And so then you can't really see this very well, but I've got Kuiu pants on. I was checking. In my pocket, I've got a radio to communicate with my other hunting party, and I got a rangefinder. And no matter what pants you've got, this is a Leupold rangefinder. It's worked pretty well for me. I think it only goes out to 750 yards, but it does the job. And this is one of those old Garmin Rhinos from way back in the day. And so we all had these. It's pretty handy just to communicate. I took a shot at a coyote this year. I was able to tell the rest of my party, hey, that was just a coyote. It's nothing to worry about. I got lithium batteries in here, which we went to those in our trail cameras. I was impressed with them, so I threw them in this, and you know, it's still got a full battery. So that's all I have in my pockets. The rest of the stuff's in my pack. Let's talk about these Kuiu pants a little bit. I'd heard about Kuiu pants. I'd had a pair of Sitka pants that I like pretty well. What I really love about these, which you're not gonna be able to probably see, but I can zoom in on later, is these vents. So as I would get hot, I could open these vents and get some airflow on both sides. The pocket configuration is really nice. There's some interior pockets that you can't really tell are there. I didn't even find them until later on in the hunt. But then I also have Kuiu long johns on, and I'll show you what I like about those. So the belt that I have is one of these magnet belts. It's a GL. Can't remember what that stands for, but that's my go-to belt. I'm a guy that if I don't have a belt, nobody wants to see that plumber's crack. So anyway, I was out in the field one day. It was hot, and really hot. And so I wanted to get these long johns off. And so what's nice about them is they've got this Velcro on the sides and then a zipper. And when I first saw it, I thought, man, those are cheesy. I probably wouldn't use that. But they're not. I mean, so you can zip this thing all the way down. Take your long johns completely off when you're out in the field without having to take your boots off. So one day I did that. It had gotten pretty warm. I took these long johns off on the bottom, and I was just in orange. And man, it made a big difference. Then I could vent these pants and walk out of the bottom of the canyon. So another thing I invested in last year is Eberly stock or Eberly stock pack. I've been really happy with it. This is the extra long frame because I'm 6'4". Wanted to make sure that it would fit me. This has the bat wing configuration, which is just two little pouches, and I like to go as light as I can go, and so I'm just going to show you what I got in here. It's nice if you get an animal and you quarter it up. You've got this meat shelf here on the bottom, and you can pull this whole process forward, slide your meat on the back side, stretch out your straps, and you can carry a quarter or whatever on your back. So let's open this up. I'm just going to show you what I got in the bag. One thing when I was out in the field, this is kind of funny, but the bat wing has this little plastic clip. I don't know if that's showing up very well, but it hooks into this little loop on top, and it's just to hold your zipper fully tight and keep that bat wing fully attached to your frame. And it'll work its way down if you don't do that. I don't know how important it is, but for whatever reason, I have bat wings. I don't have a left and right bat wing. I have two of one side. And so if I have that little plastic clip on the top for both sides, then my water bladder is going to come out of the middle. And when I was out in the field, I left it that way. And then as I was preparing for this video, I realized I just had to flip it around and I could get the water bladder coming out the side, which is gives you a little more tube, and to me, it's just more comfortable. So my water bladder is just a cheap hydro pack, nothing fancy, 3 liter. I'll say the one complaint I have on it, I've only had this thing for 2 seasons. And there's a little plastic clip on here that you open and close for your water, and it's already broke. So that broke pretty quickly, and it hasn't been in the elements that long. So I was a little disappointed in that. I'm sure I can replace this little plastic part, but I carry some matches with a little striker. My dad always said, if you get lost in the woods and you light a fire, they'll come find you. So I've got a little mat, like a little tarp. So you use that to put quarters on, or if it's raining really bad and you need a little bit of shelter. And so that's all I have on that side because it's got my water on it. And while I was in the field, I'd have a granola bar or a fruit puree or something in my pack just as a snack to keep me going. On this side, I got 4 quarters. So 4 game bags so that I could do all 4 quarters if I needed them. And then I've got this old skinning knife setup that I've had forever. I think it's Outdoor Edge. It's got a knife with a gut hook, which you've never gutted a deer with a gut hook. You should try it. It's an amazing way of doing it. Little skinning knife. And then it's got the saw on the back for getting through the pelvic bone or whatever you need it for. So I've had this for probably 15 plus years, and it's always worked well for me. The one thing I did switch up as far as my knives go is I went to one of these Razor Light knives. I don't remember the brand. Maybe Razor Light is the brand, but it has these replaceable blades. Pretty handy in the field. So as your knife gets dull, you can just swap out the blade. What I don't like about it is the waste. You know, you're throwing away a blade when you could go sharpen that blade kind of thing. But from a convenience perspective, they're pretty nice. I always have a little bit of rope or twine in my bag. And there's that 4th game bag that I didn't find earlier. And that's it. So not a whole lot, fairly light to carry. Had everything in there that I needed. Let's talk about this stuff here real quick. I like these Jim Shockey shooting sticks. They're tripod style. They're good for a tall guy. I can get it way up here and shoot a standing shot if I want to. They are a little bit flimsy. They run like $100 and something. They fold up fairly nice, and I just carry them with me as I'm out there in the field, or I can put them in my bag if I want to and rest it on the meat shelf. They're pretty nice, so I like them. I would say my one complaint with them is this V is not very wide. So with that MDT stock, it kind of sits in there a little bit funny. With my non-creep gun, the Seiko, it fits in there perfectly. You know, there's no problems, and I've used it for blacktail with success, and I like them. So I did see the Bog shooting sticks. They look pretty nice as well. They look a little heavier to pack, but those might be a good alternative. Then I have this Vortex tripod. My complaint to that, as a taller person that likes to glass standing up, when my binos are on here, I've got to crouch down. I can't be totally comfortable. So what I end up doing in the field is I would fold these legs up, especially if we were on any kind of a hillside, and I'd rest them on my foot, and I'd be able to glass without having to bend down. So I just took away the tripod function, still got the stability. And obviously if you got the SIGs, those are self-stabilizing. You don't need that. But I used the tripod when we were up at the top, and I was just glassing down. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about is my boots. And I was a Danner guy for many, many years. Danners are made here in Oregon. They're good boots. There's nothing wrong with Danners. But I just kind of, you know, the local stores that used to sell them weren't selling them anymore around here. And so I bought a pair of Keens. And I tried them, and we went to the Northwest Challenge, and my feet were uncomfortable all day. And I'm nothing against Keens, but these particular pair They hadn't been broken in. They were a little heavy. Just did not fit me well at all. And my buddy Josh was there, and he had these crispy Lapua 2s. And I'd heard about Crispies. I'd never tried them. I tried on his, and I was like, especially after being in those boots I didn't like. And I was like, man, they're expensive. I mean, I think they run 250 to 350. So these aren't their highest end boot. But I'll tell you what, my feet didn't bother me at all day. Very, very comfortable. I am hard on my gear, but I'm really pleased with these Crispies. The setup I'm running as far as socks goes within the Crispy is I've got an inner sock that's a real light polypropylene sock, just off an Amazon deal. I don't even know the brand. And then over the top of that, I've got a small wool sock. And that setup, I didn't know, I don't remember where I caught on to the double sock setup, but it was many years ago, and I didn't believe it at first, but man, you know, there's nothing worse than having your socks roll down into your boots. And so if you go this way, that polypropylene really holds that other sock in place, and you don't have to fight that all day. And this thinner wool is enough to keep me warm in the cold weather, but I don't get too hot in the warm weather. So, you know, I'm a hunting gear junkie. Like, I love spending money on hunting gear, as you can see. And obviously that gun, I've invested way too much money into, but in general, I got a lot of gear to show people, and I'm pretty pleased with most of these items. Like I say, there's a couple misses along the way. I'm upset that I lost that little piece on my sling setup, because it's a crucial piece. So hopefully that turns up somewhere, or I can buy a replacement part. But anyway, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to share kind of more detailed information about any of the stuff you saw today. All right, have a good one.